Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for clicking on this Rank the Movies video. We are still talking the original set of video game movies, the first 5 video games turned into franchises. We started with the 5th ever Wing Commander last week. This week we move on to what's in front of me right now, and that is Mortal Kombat, which was the 4th video game franchise turned into a movie, and it also is the 4th and 5th movie ever made. That's right, Mortal Kombat got its sequel before Wing Commander came out, before any other video game movie got a chance to usurp that 5th spot. As you can see, I have Mortal Kombat represented both VHS and Blu-ray for this review. So I rewatched both of these movies because I hate myself. I think that's part of it. I think I hate myself. Is there a good Mortal Kombat live-action movie? The best is the first one. Like, that's true. You want to hear my thoughts on the 2021, yes, it was 2021, Mortal Kombat movie. There's a couple of places on this channel where you can already see it. I did a review of it a couple of months ago, and I did a review of it a couple of weeks ago for my top 10 worst movies of 2021. So, yeah, I've said it. I don't like that movie. But I'm not focusing on that movie. I'm also not focusing on the 2 animated movies, only because I've only seen one of them. I've not watched Battle for the Realms yet, or the animated series. I'm not focusing on any of that. This week I'm focusing on Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Probably more so on the second one as I get going. So Mortal Kombat was a video game franchise. It was a fighting game, tournament-based, where you had to climb a ladder fighting various enemies, and had a very loose story just to get people interested in playing it in the arcade and on the home console. That story, of course, over the years, and because they kept making games and kept continuing the story, has gotten more and more fleshed out, that basically Earthrealm is about to be invaded by Outworld if they lose this tournament, and so Raiden, the God of Thunder, collects the best fighters on Earth to represent Earthrealm in this tournament. His three prize fighters are Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage. While Shang Tsung, who is representing Outworld as its main leader and the one primarily hosting these games, is bringing his own band of merry misfits, including Sub-Zero and Scorpion, Kano, and Goro. There's a lot of other people in this tournament, but none of them are worth knowing because the movie never goes deeper into it. So you basically, the first movie only focuses on the cast of the original game, which I think was a really good idea because at least then you could kind of focus your story and your characters a little bit. You're not trying to go 20 different places with 20 different characters. It does have Reptile and Jax are in it as well, and Katana, who I actually don't remember if she's in the first game or if she's in the second game, but they also make appearances. But again, it's not that many characters. It's not like Shao Kahn gets talked about, as does Kang Long. I cannot remember the character's name, mainly because I know Kung Lao. I know Kung Lao's story because I've watched a lot of Mortal Kombat stuff, and I've read some of the character descriptions, so I know Kung Lao is the last champion who won for Earthrealm, because you have to win 10 Mortal Kombats in a row, and Outworld was about to. Liu Kang then won a tournament or multiple tournaments, and Outworld had to start over again. So, and Liu Kang is the descendant of Kung Lao, and but they always just say he's a descendant of Kung Lao in the entire movie. They never explained who Kung Lao is, because you were supposed to watch a animated... Oh, hold up one second. I'm going to walk off screen for a minute, because I should have grabbed this when I started this review, and I just realized I have it sitting off screen. So I could just grab it right away. And that is, you're supposed to watch Mortal Kombat, the animated video, which I wasn't going to talk about, but now I find myself talking about it, and I find myself holding a VHS copy of it that I happen to own. That again was sitting on a shelf just off camera. So, oh man, you got to see what I wear under the table when I film these, because normally you don't see my legs, so it really doesn't matter what I wear. Anyways, so yeah, this is a short film. It runs, I don't know, like, oh, it's an hour. This is an hour of horrible things. Which, if you can't find a VHS copy of it, I believe it is a yep. The Journey Begins. This is called the animated video, but it is The Journey Begins. The Journey Begins is a special feature on the Blu-ray release of Mortal Kombat. So yes, they high-defed this garbage. So yeah, so basically this was used as a tie-in to explain a bunch of the stuff that they didn't go into in the Mortal Kombat movie, like Kung Lao and his championship reign, Goro, why he's called Prince Goro, when he is not considered a descendant of Shao Kahn, nor is he, like, him and Kitana aren't ever considered brother and sister, but he is still referred to as Prince Goro. The tape covers that. It is brought up that Scorpion and Sub-Zero are bitter enemies, but now they're under the control of Shang Tsung. The bitter enemies thing is brought up in the tape. So yeah, it's a horrible animated movie, and it's not worth watching, because they do a bunch of different CG animation styles to create this movie, and literally the back of the box only shows the Scorpion and Sub-Zero CG. I think the rest of it's just awful, and that's why, like, we're gonna focus on Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And I think that was the selling point of this movie, is, it also has combat codes, the Mortal Kombat 3 arcade and video game, and a coupon book with over $75 in discounts on Mortal Kombat merchandise, including a free watch offer. Yep, this is how they tied into the movie. It was this PG, but yeah. So the animated Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins kind of was the tie-in that was supposed to explain it. That still doesn't fit the continuity of this first movie. I can't believe I'm going off on a Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins rant here, but I am. It doesn't even fit in the... I didn't even watch this when I was prepping for this video. This is just crap I remember from the last time I decided to sit down and watch this gigantic piece of garbage. I might have to change my thumbnail. I already have it made. I might have to add this onto the thumbnail now. Anyways, its continuity falls somewhere, like, in the middle of, like, this apparently could, much like Watchmen, if you watch the complete Watchmen movie, with the Tales of the Black Freighter edited in, I think you could almost do the same with Mortal Kombat and The Journey Begins, and do a complete video, because I think The Journey Begins, like, they're on the boat talking to Raiden, and then it's supposed to go to The Journey Begins, and then after they're done meeting Goro and all of that, those introductions, and I think they have another scene with Raiden that's supposed to again go into The Journey Begins, is where that scene from the tape happens in the movie. So it actually, this shit is supposed to happen there. It's supposed to happen in the movie. Yeah, I don't know if it was ever meant to be part of the movie. I don't think so. But yeah, this is trash. This is worse than Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I haven't gotten to that one yet. But yeah. The Journey Begins is garbage. It also shows, the one thing that I think Mortal Kombat, this movie, is missing, is that all of Shang Tsung's other, like, soldiers and crap are just dudes in red masks, like red cloth wrappings, when they should be... Baraka is a Tarkin, weird monster with claws. That's who's running around the island here in the tape, are Tarkins, who also show up in Annihilation. But yeah, so you don't... It's a weird bit of continuity. Coming off of that tangent, I don't mind the Mortal Kombat movie. I think it does the best for what it can do. I think it doesn't go in enough depth in certain areas to really explore the lore, and it wastes a lot of characters. Sub-Zero and Scorpion are unnecessary to this movie. They're just there so they can say they had them in it. Kano seems pretty wasted as well. It's a weird, it's a hard concept to take that video game and make it into a movie, because you have to kill off these characters, but you can't go into any depth on any of them, um, outside of, like, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, and Shang Tsung. You get a little depth on those characters, and everyone else is basically just there. The movie has terrible CG. Reptile is a horrible CG character, but you know what? I accept it. As much as it is bad CG, I've never, it's what I've seen every time I watch Mortal Kombat. You get that bad CG, so screw it. You know what? I prefer the bad CG there to the horrible 3D animation here. I swear, I'm gonna stop talking about The Journey Begins, or The Journey is in the middle. But yeah, I like the original Mortal Kombat movie. I think Paul Anderson, so this would be, that does not help at all. It just says Paul Anderson, and I always get Paul Thomas Anderson and Paul W.S. Anderson mixed up, and this literally, it just says directed by Paul Anderson. So, I feel like this is not a helpful piece of equipment here. Do you have the... Nope, still just Paul Anderson. So whichever Paul Anderson, he's the guy who did the Resident Evil movies. It's that Paul Anderson. I think he did a good job with Mortal Kombat. I think he took what he had, and it's a very good-looking movie. Is it my favorite video game movie? No, we haven't gotten that far yet, because we are going to get there. It is one of the first 5 video games ever turned into a movie. Mortal Kombat did fairly well at the box office, so it was quickly followed by a sequel, and that sequel became Mortal Kombat Annihilation. First and foremost, they could only get 2 actors back. The rest of the cast didn't want to do it. So they got back Liu Kang and Kitana. They had to recast Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, Raiden, Jax. I think that was it. I think really there wasn't a lot of characters they had to recast, but when you only have 6 returning characters, and you have to recast 4 of them, that's a lot of recasting. And it does pick up right where Mortal Kombat leaves off, because Mortal Kombat does leave off with a cliffhanger to set up for a sequel, basically. Because the second video game is about Shao Kahn, the ruler of Outworld, after losing the tournament, still decides to invade Earth and try to take it over. The first movie ends with the beginning of that, and the second movie is that. So at least it continued the story. It did what it needed to do there. And that might be the last positive thing I have to say about this movie. It is a huge pile of garbage, but under the right circumstances, it's a very entertaining pile of garbage. But it's a huge pile of garbage. First and foremost, they try to recap what happened in the first movie, but of course the only actor they could show is the guy who plays Liu Kang, because if they show Sonya Blade, Raiden, or Johnny Cage, they'll be the wrong actor. So, it has a really bad opening, that then moves into, you get this really cool Shao Kahn at the end of Mortal Kombat, like, in smoke, standing over them, and then you see Shao Kahn in this movie, and it's just a dude in a mask. Like, not even like a face prosthetic mask, just a helmet mask to create, the face of Shao Kahn, which I think is a helmet mask in the games. But it's just weird because they didn't, like, the Shao Kahn that you see in the sky, like, he had definition on the chin, and it wasn't, like, smooth and human. It had a little more, rough definition to it. And then you get to Annihilation, and it's just, bam, we have no makeup for this. We have a shitty makeup budget for a bunch of other things, but no makeup for Shao Kahn. They also have a really shitty CG budget, as well, to make shitty CG. The movie doesn't know what it wants to do. Mortal Kombat Annihilation has no idea what it wants to do. It has no idea what the story it wants to tell, and it's just kind of doing stuff for an hour and a half. Because after they killed Johnny Cage, because, one of the most popular characters in the entire franchise, we just kill. It's kind of like the new Mortal Kombat movie that doesn't have Johnny Cage in it, because he's the tease for the sequel, when Johnny Cage probably just could have been the main character, and everyone would have been okay with this. Because Johnny Cage is a very popular character. So they off one of the most popular characters in the series right off the bat for shock value, I guess. Or because, having two people running around as a different actor, was their limit, and they were bringing back Jack, so that was going to make 3. So, we can't add in Johnny Cage. He has to get killed. Shao Kahn's got to kill someone at the beginning to set up the rage of the main characters. And then it's just, after that, like, the beginning probably has the most plot in it, because it is like, oh, we have to stop Shao Kahn. He's going to merge these realms in 6 days. We have 6 days. There's nothing that ever tells us how far we are until we get to the end of the movie where there's 1 hour left! And I'm sitting there watching it going, almost 6 days have passed? What? No. What? No. Travel? Maybe? No. And it's just a bunch of really bad fight scenes. You get Smoke, and here's the thing, they bring in so many characters from the video game. So many characters that 90% of them don't get named. So you either recognize them and you know their name, or you're going, oh, I know that character. I know that character. That's that's that one. Yeah. Or they even have because at least you got this to kind of explain some of the backstory to Mortal Kombat. So if you really want to know the backstory, at least you had the Journey Begins. Where in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, you don't even get that. You've got Smoke, Seeker, and I think it's Smoke and Sector. I have no idea. Like 15 characters get turned into robots in this video game. You get 2 of them in the movie, and you don't know why. They're just robots. But they're robots with a lot of backstory that we're just ignoring because we just want the cool robots, which aren't even done that well. Because you get Smoke fighting Liu Kang as Katana fights off just some random thugs. When Smoke is defeated because Sub-Zero shows up, who died in the first movie, but now it's his brother, which is canon to the games. His brother shows up, Scorpion shows up, fights Sub-Zero, so at least now we get Scorpion versus Sub-Zero in a pretty short fight. And then Liu Kang helps Sub-Zero out of the pit, Scorpion kidnaps Katana, and then we never see Scorpion or Sub-Zero again in the rest of this movie. Like, seriously, why? Why bring these 2 characters in if we're just going to immediately, like, leave them off? Why isn't Scorpion one of Shao Kahn's generals? Why isn't Sub-Zero hanging out with Liu Kang going, oh, we need to stop what's happening. I'm going to go with you, and we're going to do this. Liu Kang then goes to visit Nightwolf, the Native American fighter in the Mortal Kombat games, who's literally, this is his only scene. He whips a tomahawk at Liu Kang, and that's it. He's done. So, representation for the Native American people in Mortal Kombat is a single scene that has no purpose. Liu Kang then wakes up, finds Jade, who looks very attractive, I'm not going to lie. It was very nice to look at her. Finds Jade, and they go off to meet up with everyone else. Well, Sonya goes to find Jax, who's gotten his arms implanted with the metal tech that he's supposed to have, which is good, except it's just over his arms. When I think in, like, all other continuities, it's because his arms are destroyed, and they're replacing his arms. But no, we can't do that. We have to make them just overlays on his existing arms, because the plot will demand it later. They then fight Melina, I think. Oh, no. This is when the other robot, Sector or Noob Saibot, I'm not 100% sure which fucking one it is, because they never say his name. It's the yellow one. And again, there are just so many of them. It's hard to remember which one is which, unless you really play these games, and I don't. Shows up, and they defeat him, and then they fight Melina, who I think is supposed to be Melina. Again, she's never said, and again, we have another character who's supposed to be the clone of Katana, but with Tarkin blood mixed in. None of that matters. She's just killed. We then get a really ugly CG monster, because CG monster? That Jax punches in the ass until it falls down. That's what happens. Jax punches it in the ass until it falls down. we then move on. We then have Shao Kahn's crap, where he's actually working for his dad, and one of his generals has caught fighters who are from the game, but you never see in this movie, Cabal and Stryker, but he hasn't killed them, because we need them for a possible third movie. So Cabal and Stryker have been captured, and so he kills his general because he didn't kill Cabal and Stryker. Which is fair, I guess. It's fine, but why? It just happens, and then he has to insert a new general, but earlier in the movie, they were all everyone in the room was stated to be his generals, so he ends up picking Queen Seidel, who is the reanimated corpse of a woman he killed when he took over Outworld, who's also the mother of Katana, and then everyone meets up at the freaking Elder Gods, who are a thing, and it just Jade betrays the group for reasons, and then is killed. Like, she betrays the group, goes back to Shao Kahn, and then is killed for no better reason that I can figure out that there was no one for her to fight in the final conflict, even though, again, Nighthawk and Sub-Zero, both part of this movie, and just fucking disappear. So she could have fought him, and then you could have had Scorpion fight Sub-Zero in a much longer battle. Well, Nighthawk fights Jade. Bam, bam, bam. I just gotten all these characters into this movie, doing more, and now they're actually useful. In the end, we finally get the people pairing off, which is Jax fighting Montaro, who is basically a centaur, and he has to realize that his power doesn't come from his metal arms, they come from him, and that's how he beats Montaro, and Katana beats up Seidel, and Sonya Blade takes on fugly-looking Scorpion and Sub-Zero dude. He has the exact same outfit, except I think it's black and red checkered? I have no idea. They never say this character's name. I don't remember who he is. And he spawns off a black version, and I think that's actually Noob Saibot. I'm pretty sure he might I think he does get turned into a robot at some point in the continuity of these games. But not in this one. I think he does. But I think that is Noob Saibot, is the black robed version of the palette swap of Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And then apparently she's too weak to fight off two of them, so she needs Jack's help to punch one of them so she can kill the other. And then we finally have Liu Kang and Shao Kahn fighting, and they morph into their animalities, which is pointless and horrible CG. Horrible CG. Like, they should have just cut this part, because it was that bad. And then Liu Kang, and then the Elder Gods show up, because apparently Shao Kahn's dad was an Elder God, but he wants to get the Elder Gods, so now they're going to decide if Outworld gets to absorb Earth, or if Earth gets to stay the way it is, the only way that makes sense, which is Shao Kahn and Liu Kang fighting in Mortal Kombat, which I'm pretty sure they've fucking been doing for the last 5 fucking minutes of this fucking movie! And they fight in Mortal Kombat, and Liu Kang wins, and Earth is returned to normal, and Seidel is returned to normal for reasons. And the movie finally ends. Oh, and Raiden becomes an Elder God. Raiden gets to replace Shao Kahn's dad, who also happens to be Raiden's dad, because we need more controversies in this movie. I skipped that part of the story. Raiden becomes the new Elder God, and thank God Christ, the credits finally fucking start to roll. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It is, if you want to watch a movie that is so bad that you can just sit there and make fun of it for the entirety of its hour-and-a-half runtime, it's a great movie for that. If you're trying to sit down to enjoy a movie, don't. It is not worth it. Watch the original, Mortal Kombat. This is a really good movie. I really like it. Don't watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation if you're just trying to watch a good a good fighting movie, because it's not. And don't watch The Journey Begins unless you're trying to either be good, laugh at something. But yeah, you know what? I'll set that right there for my closing. It's part of this now. That's part of it. Journey Begins, the animated video. That's part of all this now. That's part of this reality. that we now inhabit. It gets to sit with Boba Fett right in front of it. Yeah, that's what's happening. This is life now. Alright, so, yeah, those are my thoughts on the first two Mortal Kombat movies, the fourth video game franchise ever turned into a movie, the first one to get a sequel, and actually of this base 5, it's the only one that got a sequel. Wing Commander never got a sequel, and the 3 I still have to cover never got direct sequels. Yeah, because Wing Commander never got anything. Mortal Kombat, of course, has been rebooted as Mortal Kombat 2021. And the other 3, two of them have gotten, will be rebooted sometime this year. One of them already has been, and one of them is being rebooted. Well, Street Fighter got its reboot in The Legend of Chun-Li. Super Mario Brothers is getting the reboot with Mario. Double Dragon has had nothing done with it. But next week, I'm talking about the second fighting game, I guess, turned into a movie, which is Street Fighter. So I'm probably going to have way less rants on next week for Street Fighter, but tune in, enjoy me talking about Street Fighter. Like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe you are a lover of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Please tell me why this is such a great movie and why it's one that just goes straight to your heart. Because it's not for me. It's a giant pile of dog shit. But yeah, I'm Martin Prevost. This is Rank the Movies. I hope you have a great one. I will talk to you next week.